guys, and welcome back to the studio. This is my first video back in the new year, and I'm really excited to welcome you back to the studio and to catch up a little bit. So the first thing I want to say is just happy 2026. Happy New Year. I hope yours is off to a good start. Mine has been pretty good so far. I have a couple of fun projects in the works. I have a commission I'm working on that's going to be a watercolor landscape, so I'm excited about that. And then I have other projects that I will share about as they unfold. But for this video, I just wanted to do a little bit of a catch up and kind of just share a few goals and intentions for the year. It's hard to believe that 2026 is already here, but I hope that you are feeling refreshed and ready to begin a new year. And I don't know about you, but I feel like January, while it is the time to reflect and make new goals and intentions, it also I feel like is a time of rest in some ways, because the holiday season is so busy, and at least for me as an artist, it can come with a lot, releasing new products and then doing markets and all that sort of stuff. And then of course, all your family time. And while that's really good and exciting and, the best time of year, it also can be a lot. And so I do tend to feel like January is a little bit of a time of rest. And I feel like that is the way that nature intended it. It is kind of like a dormancy period. So if you're feeling a little slow start to the year, you're not alone, and I feel like that's okay. So while I do have work that needs to be done, and I am working on that work, I also am trying to be intentional about having slow moments, slow mornings, or time for my crafts, and giving myself weekends. These are some of the intentions I'm going in the new year with. And I know that sometimes those things aren't always possible for me. I know I'll have markets on weekends and things like that as, market season comes about in the spring, summer, and fall. But in general, I would like to lead with those intentions, or at least have them in my mind. So those are some of my intentions. I also would really like to start a sketchbook practice. It's really important to me to start my mornings in a better way. And also, it's important to me to do a sketchbook, because I feel like it's really good practice for artists to actually practice their work. It can feel a little bit like a waste of time sometimes, because it's not necessarily something that you're going to sell, or you're working towards a product that you're gonna have on your shop or something like that. But it's not a waste of time at all. And I keep trying to tell myself, but myself isn't listening, that it's good to try new things and experiment. And I feel like if it turns out good, then I can make prints and I don't have to sell the original. Or I can rip it out of my sketchbook if I love it that much, I just feel like it's important to practice your craft without pressure sometimes. And so experiment and have freedom with it. And not to say that I don't do that in my collections and things like that, but I do tend to put a lot of pressure on those. And so I would really like to fill up a sketchbook this year. That is one of my 2026 goals. So I have to say I haven't really done much towards that goal so far, but I feel like if I can incorporate it into my morning routine as a morning practice of the first thing I do in the morning is a little bit of sketchbook time, even if it's only 10 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that, I feel like I can make it happen. So that's one of my goals. Do you guys do a word of the year? I do a word of the year that I sometimes forget about it, and sometimes it makes sense. Last year, my word of the year was create, which I feel like made sense. That's the year that I quit my part-time job. So I did create a lot of art. Create was my focus in my business. I didn't create as much personal project or for fun stuff as I wanted to. I'm also a knitter, so I really love knitting and crocheting and working on those types of projects. So I'd like to do that a bit more this year if possible. But my word of the year this year is prepare. I want to be so prepared that I don't ever feel like I'm rushing. I feel like that's obviously a very lofty goal, but I think that if I try to prepare way in advance, then I won't feel really overwhelmed. So that's my goal, and it's my word of the year. I also have a secondary word of the year, which is rejoice. I just really like that word. It is a word that comes about a lot during the holidays, and that's when you start thinking about the new year. But I actually thought of this word in the summer, and I thought of it because I just feel like it's a way to kind of like feel gratitude and also like deeper joy in maybe like smaller things, or just like taking notice of those things, being really present in your joy. And so those are the two words that I'd like to keep in the forefront of my mind this year. Let me know if you have a word of the year, what yours is down below. I'd love to hear. I forgot to tell you, I'm drinking a new to me tea. It's this hibiscus raspberry rose tea. I got it at World Market and it is delicious. It's a caffeine-free tea, so it's good for like the afternoons for me. So actually caffeine doesn't really affect me too much, but I don't know. I'm trying to like be a little more aware of that, of my sleep, and seeing if it like affects me at all, but I don't know. Anyway, I've been really enjoying it. So before we get all focused on 2026, I thought it would be kind of fun to share some of my favorite things from 2025. So starting off strong, I had a favorite book of the year. I don't always have like a standout favorite, but this year I really did. I actually read quite a few books that I enjoyed. One of them I found kind of surprising, which was The Wedding People. The premise of the book is it starts out with the main character who her intention is to commit suicide, and so it follows her little adventure, and because of that premise, I wasn't expecting to like it at all, but it was actually really, like, the main character was so funny, and which sounds really bad by the premise. I'm explaining it very wrong, but she was very funny. She had this like beautiful character arc. I don't want to spoil anything, but like based on that, you can kind of probably imagine that she ends up rediscovering herself and living. So which is good, and I think why I enjoyed the book. I do enjoy a happy ending. I do enjoy humor in a book, and this is the type of humor that I liked. There were several moments where I laughed out loud. Just like her character arc, she went from being someone that was so had the lowest self-esteem to someone who just like said whatever she wanted because it didn't really matter, and she really found herself. And so I really enjoyed that book. But that was not my favorite book of the year. It was just my most surprising book of the year. But my favorite book of the year was The Secret Book of Flora Lee, and I'll link it below. I think the author is Patty Henry Callahan, or Patty Callahan Henry or something, but I'll link it below so you can find it because it was so good. The imagery in it was so beautiful. It's been really inspiring. I feel like if you see any like English countryside hedgerows type watercolor illustrations coming from me this year, it will be because of that book. I just feel like it really inspired me, and so I actually am hoping to paint something from the book at some point because I just really loved it, and I read it at the right time. I think it was a good escape for me, and I just really, like I said, I really loved it. So it's a historical fiction novel. So it's about the main character. She is the older sister to Flora Lee, and when they're sent away in Operation, I forget what it's called, but basically during, I think it was World War II, kids in England in London were sent to the countryside to try to protect them from the bombings. And while they were there, the younger sister, Flora Lee, goes missing. So it's kind of all about that mystery of what happened to her, and sort of like there's like a whimsical side of the story, and then there's like flashbacks to the countryside, and so it's just really wonderful. So I highly recommend that. But that was my favorite book of 2025. I thought of like several categories to go through: favorite book, favorite movie, favorite song, favorite art supply, favorite thrift, and I'm gonna list them all out. But I also thought it'd be fun if in any of these categories you had a favorite, you comment them below. So let me know in the comments if you have a favorite of any of these things that I'm about to mention. So of course I already mentioned the book, but my favorite song of the year, I was thinking about this, and when Sapphire by Ed Sheeran came out, I played it over and over. I just loved it. It was so catchy and it was so fun, and I just liked the I guess cultural aspect of it, and I just thought it was really fun. So that was probably my favorite song of the year, my favorite new song. I listen to a lot of songs that are kind of like my standard go-tos. So my favorite artists are always my favorite artists: Taylor Swift, The Paper Kites, Lord Huron, Gregory Alan Isakov. Those type of artists are always my favorites, but that was probably my favorite song of the year, my favorite new song of the year. And then also I really loved listening to the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack. That was probably my most listened to songs of the year. It's just like that soundtrack as a whole. And so I really loved that, which kind of brings me to my favorite movie of the year in a weird way, because I just loved seeing Pride and Prejudice in the theater. That was my favorite thing. I don't know if I have like a favorite movie of the year, but that was my favorite movie of the year because even though I've seen it a million times, I got to see it in the theater this year for its anniversary. And so that was my favorite movie. I guess if I had to pick another favorite movie, there were a couple really funny ones on Hallmark this holiday season. So the one that was, I forget what it was called, like Merry Christmas, Ted Cooper or something like that, was really funny and heartwarming. I don't know, like Hallmark isn't for everybody, but I really love it. And so that's always gonna be a favorite for me. So the next category I thought of was favorite new place that I visited, because I actually did a little bit of traveling this year. Not a ton, but like I visited a couple new places and I loved them all, so it was hard to pick. I kind of picked a tie between 3 places, which is kind of cheating, but I can't resist. So in October, my mom and my sister and I took a trip to Maine, and I loved it there. It was so beautiful and quintessentially, I don't know, small town, and it was just a really amazing experience. We just loved it so much. It just felt like a Hallmark movie, to be honest. So we just loved it. So when we were there, I think that it's hard to pick one favorite because there were so many wonderful things about it. I loved the Maine Stay Inn in Camden, Maine. That was a favorite. And then also Kennebunkport was a favorite. So those are my 2 top favorites from Maine. Really, it's hard to choose. There's so many wonderful places that I loved about Maine, but those top 2 favorites. And then my other favorite place, probably my favorite place of the year, was Burton on the Water, which is in the Cotswolds in England. My sister and I took my mom there for her birthday at the beginning of December, and it was so Christmassy, and it was really a wonderful experience again. We met such lovely people, and everyone was so kind, and it just felt like this quintessential small town that was all I mean, I know that it's a little bit touristy. I do know that. But I do also feel like we met some of the locals and got to just have kind of like a cozy experience, and we just really loved it. The architecture is so different from here and so beautiful and, old, and so that was really lovely to see. We stayed in this like the coziest cottage, like from The Holiday, the movie. It was like that, and they had a cat that named Freddie who we fell in love with, and he snuggled me all night, and it was so cute, and so that has to be a favorite, of course. My favorite new artist that I've discovered this year was actually one that I found in Kennebunkport, Maine. So when we were there, we went to this art gallery, and there were a lot of amazing artists in this gallery, but one in particular stood out to us and to me and my sister. She's an artist too, and we both fell in love with her art, and her name was Elena Balak, I think, or something. I will put her website below so you can see all her beautiful art. I just love the way that she paints light, and her style was so beautiful, and I just really fell in love with it. So that was my favorite new artist of the year. Well, not new. She's not a new artist, but new to me. New discovery for me. So speaking of art, I wanted to share my favorite painting that I made this year. I actually made several paintings that I really am proud of, and also that I feel like stretched me as an artist, and I really saw a lot of growth in myself this year. But my favorite painting that I did this year was the hydrangea in the window painting called What the Sunlight Carries. That painting, I just really love how it turned out, and I'm really proud of it, and so that was my favorite painting that I made this year. But an honorable mention to the 2 hydrangea paintings that I made side by side. I made them in April, and I think that was like the kickstart to like my growth journey, because I feel like those were 2 paintings that I also am extremely proud of, and also that I feel like I just love looking at them. So those 2, and then together, even though they're individual, and then the window. So I guess that's not really fair, but those are honorable mentions. My favorite thrift of the year is something that I was looking for, and I think every time I found something that was kind of similar to what I was looking for, it was like $400, and it was so expensive and like a little bit worn, and like, I don't know, it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And so when I found this one, it was like, I think it was like $75 or $80 or something, and it was pretty much exactly what I've been looking for. It was the right size. The only thing that was wrong with it is that it's painted, and so I want to do a project this year and kind of fix it up. But I'm gonna do a little clip to show you. But it's this desk, and I thought it would be perfect to paint at. And it's like it's just because it's so small and compact, and I can lift up the secretary part, so I can fold it up, or I can lift it down and use it, kind of put my paint palette down on. And so it was exactly what I was looking for, except I don't really love the color, and also it does kind of smell weird. So I want to strip the paint and refinish it. I don't know if that means paint it again, something else, or if that means just leave it as wood. I guess it depends on what it looks like underneath the paint. But I brought this citrus strip stuff, so in the spring when it gets a little warmer outside, that'll be a fun project we can do. I just have two more categories that they kind of go together. So one is my favorite tea of the year, and that would have to be Wittard. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but this tea brand we discovered when we were in England. The tea is so smooth and so nice. It's not this tea that I'm drinking now. I think of that brand, and also just like throughout the year, I came to really love Earl Grey tea with honey. And so, I mean, I've always loved Earl Grey, but I usually drink it with cream and sugar, but this year I've started drinking it with honey, and I think I have a new appreciation for how much I love it. And so maybe that is my tea choice of 2025. Although my favorite snack of the year was shortbread cookies dipped in English breakfast tea with cream. So that could also be a favorite tea of the year if it is part of my favorite snack of the year. Those are all the categories I thought of. If you have any other questions on like what favorite things I had, and if I missed a category you thought I should have covered, let me know. Ask me below. I'll be happy to answer either in the comments or in the next video. But thank you so much for watching, and I want to wish you a really happy new year, and I really can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye guys!